On a humid August night in 1952, Scoutmaster DesVergers emerged burned and barely coherent from a dense palmetto grove in the South Florida Everglades. He claimed he encountered an unidentified flying object that discharged a fireball, which left him singed and barely able to see. Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, chief UFO investigator for the U.S. Air Force, would later label the event the best hoax in UFO history. But the DesVergers incident remains one of the most intriguing cases from Project Blue Book. The Air Force has now declassified investigations into UFOs because it wasn't just a sighting incident, but one involving an attack. To this day, it's still unsolved. On the evening of August 19, 1952, hardware store clerk and Scoutmaster DesVergers, 30 years of age, was driving a group of Boy Scouts home when he saw a bright light flash over Military Trail near West Palm Beach, Florida. Thinking it may be a downplane or car accident, DesVergers pulled onto the shoulder of the highway so he could take a closer look. Armed with a machete and flashlights, he encountered the palmetto grove near where he saw the lights, leaving the three boys in the vehicle with instructions to alert the residents of a nearby farmhouse if he did not return in 15 minutes. According to the declassified documents, after about 4 minutes of hacking through the bush, DesVergers entered a clearing in the grove. The first thing he described was an acute, nauseating smell, and then the feeling of somebody or something watching him. He next experienced a sensation of oven-like heat coming from above. Looking up, DesVergers said he could not see any stars as he was standing beneath a hovering object. The object was circular, DesVergers recounted, dull black, with no seams, about 30 feet in diameter with a height of 10 feet, a convex dome atop it, and the bottom edge lit with a glow. What happened next is what separates DesVergers' encounter from thousands of other UFO sightings. As he slowly moved backward, he recalled, he heard a noise like metal against metal, like a hatch opening, after which a red, flare-like light came from the side of the object and slowly moved towards him. DesVergers constantly referred to it as a ship when recounting the tale to the authorities. As he placed his hands over his face, fist closed, hand over each eye, the red ball of light grew into a red mist, engulfing him. It was then, he recounted, that he lost consciousness. When he awoke, he was leaning against a tree, but could not see properly as his eyes burned. Scrambling back through the palmettos, his eyesight slowly returned to normal. He burst, incoherent, out into the highway, where he was met by the boys and local authorities. The three scouts, Bobby Ruffing, David Rowan, and Chuck Stevens, remained in the car after DesVergers entered the grove. Later, in recounting what he had witnessed to the authorities, Ruffing said he initially saw a semicircle of white lights descending into the trees. Ruffing also recounted seeing a red light, as did Rowan and Stevens, who told of also seeing DesVergers' flashlight through the trees before going dark. That's when the scouts headed to the nearby farmhouse for help. A Palm Beach County deputy and constable responded to the farmer's call for assistance. Returning to the site of the abandoned vehicle almost an hour after DesVergers first said he saw the lights, the officers and scouts witnessed the Scoutmaster emerge from the palmettos, waving his machete and babbling incoherently. In all my 19 years of law enforcement work, I've never seen anyone as terrified as he was, the deputy is recorded as saying in Ruppelt's investigation. Back at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, DesVergers and the boys underwent questioning. Officers noted that the hair on DesVergers' forearms was singed and the skin burned. They also noted 3 tiny burn holes in the bill of the Scoutmaster's cap. Following the procedure, local authorities contacted relevant agencies with the incident report, which eventually made its way to Blue Book Chief Ruppelt. He later described the case as one of the weirdest UFO reports that I came up against. Arriving in Florida soon after the encounter, Ruppelt and his team began their investigation, obtaining statements from all parties involved and taking grass and soil specimens from the clearing in which DesVergers said the encounter took place. The latter evidence would prove to be the most inexplicable piece of the encounter puzzle. As the grass specimens were being tested, DesVergers' character would come under intense scrutiny, with authorities noting his other-than-honorable discharge from the U.S. Marines due to theft of a car, and what Florida locals would describe as his ability to tell tall tales. But when Ruppelt first interviewed DesVergers, he described the Scoutmaster as likable, willing to cooperate, and displaying the immediate impression he was telling the truth. Taking into account the background checks on DesVergers, along with a return visit to the encounter site where he determined the Boy Scouts could not have witnessed DesVergers, and the mysterious red light in the grove due to their distance and density of the foliage, Ruppelt would later call the entire event a hoax. DesVergers was painted as an opportunist, a media-hungry con man who sold his story to the American media the following year. After samples from the Florida clearing was sent to an institute under contract with the USAF to provide significant support to Project Blue Book, agronomists made some interesting findings. Though the soil remained consistent, the root structure of the plants in question was charred black, and the lower leaves had deteriorated as if by heat. The only way the lab could come close to duplicating the effect was to place live clumps of grass in a pan of sandy soil and heat it to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. With those associated with the case no longer able to comment or add context, the case remains unexplained, but many believe something unusual happened to the Scoutmaster, and the physical evidence backed him up. The red flashing lights, the burn marks, the soil, this seems like a pretty elaborate lie, wouldn't you agree? Would he really go through all that trouble just for a little attention? It doesn't make any sense. He saw something that night. Don't forget to sign up for our Patreon page. Members get early access to videos, ad-free, and you can see content you can't see anywhere else.